Kia ora, hello, I'm Philip Duncan. Thank you for joining us for our special update for Monday, January the 30th, Auckland Anniversary Day. We weren't supposed to have a video today, but because of the severe weather in Auckland and other parts of the upper North Island, we are doing this special update because more severe weather is coming back. Now, before I explain exactly what is happening over Tuesday and Wednesday with this next burst of gale force winds and rain, we need to actually take a look and see what just happened because it explains the setup and why this is a little bit of a tricky system. I want you to focus on this high. This is to the east of New Zealand. Notice how it moves in and out. It sort of breathes almost like it's a lung. Well, it's that sort of movement, that in and out, that pushes back against this system over here, which was trying to move down to Bay of Plenty over the weekend. It basically got there. But on its way, it stalled in Auckland. And you notice how the high is sort of breathing out. Well, when it does that, it stops everything on this side for a time. And in fact, over Sunday, it was such a big expansion, it pushed the rain clouds all the way back, and it's still doing that across Monday. It's going further up towards Northland. But this map shows you what happens across Tuesday and Wednesday. Once again, it is coming back down across Auckland and Coromandel and into Bay of Plenty, driven by this very powerful high, which is finally going to move away to the east, but not until the end of the week. Now, the high is also tapping into all this moisture in the tropics. This low pressure zone about 9 days ago was up here near New Caledonia, almost a tropical cyclone. But the high down here made unfavorable conditions for that storm to get any bigger. But it brought all that rain with it. Now, you probably heard the term atmospheric river and moisture plume. Well, this is it coming down here. You can even see it sort of shaped like a river, like a valley. All this moisture from the tropics being fed into this narrow area, which was feeding in towards the north of New Zealand. And on Friday last week, that fed straight into Auckland and was blocked by the high out here to the east. That's the reason why the rainfall totals were big. Now, MetService did a great job. They had their warnings out ahead of the system. But yes, the rain was much bigger than was forecast by any forecaster in the country. But the flooding did occur in the areas that had those warnings in force. So there's plenty more moisture still to come on through. So let's try and make sense of what is on the way. We're taking a look here at the 24-hour rain map. Now, this is starting from Monday morning today, 7 o'clock in the morning through to Tuesday. What you're really looking for, forget the sort of blue and green around the outer edges. That's the very bottom of the scale. What you're looking for is where the pink and the reds are and anything beyond that. So you're sort of looking here around about 30 to 70 millimeters around land, and then offshore in these areas 150 millimeters in 24 hours. That's obviously out at sea, but that is sliding in towards us, and then that whole system is going to move southwards. Here is the Tuesday map. 24 hours from 7 o'clock on Tuesday morning, that heavier rain moving into Auckland and starting to ease in the far north later on, but picking up in Coromandel Peninsula. And then our last map here on Wednesday shows it moving into Bay of Plenty, weakening to some degree, some rain on the west coast, which will be very welcome, and a northerly flow coming right down across the country, but rain easing up here, north of Auckland and later on into Auckland as well. So we have got more severe weather coming through, but it does start to ease afterwards. So let's have a look and see what is happening. 9 o'clock this morning, the MetService rain radar showing plenty of rain around the north, but dry patchy areas as well. Not very intense, most places further to the south only seeing lighter falls, and that system's being pushed further back away. So we should see longer dry spells appearing across Monday. Now tonight, pale blue over here means a risk of showers or drizzle, so humid weather and a few showers around, overnight lows barely getting down into the teens. Some places may not even drop below the early 20s. You can see that low pressure zone. There is that atmospheric river with the bright colours and the rain, mostly offshore tonight, but the wind and rain will start to pick up. And then as we go through into Tuesday, that's when it intensifies. So you've got the high out here, pretty powerful, pushing back, the low deepening, and that tropical airflow coming through. So there is the heavy rain at lunchtime Tuesday, and that'll move into Auckland. And it's another squash zone where all that windy weather on the side of the high, nor'easterlies mostly, blowing through with the rain and the wind basically at the same time. And some of the heaviest rain can be just after where that windy weather moves through. So by Tuesday night, windy and wet across Auckland. There could be both wind and rain warnings issued for this. We're already starting to see MetService putting these things out. And then that moves down and towards Bay of Plenty and Coromandel. There is a high risk for slips and flooding. It is worth noting though, even though this is another wind and rain event, every single severe weather event is as unique as your fingerprint. So they're always a little bit different. Not necessarily going to see what we just saw, but it's a very similar, structurally wise, very similar kind of setup. Now here on Wednesday morning, that heavy rain is into Coromandel Peninsula and Western Bay of Plenty. If this all is on time and the high doesn't do anything out here and push back at all, the high could also move away a little faster, although that doesn't seem to be in the forecast. Wet, humid, northerlies, maybe a few thunderstorms in there as well. And by the end of Wednesday, not a great deal of change, but the system, the low pressure system out here is basically broken apart and gone. But we've got the very humid airflow left behind it, and rain on the west coast, which will be welcome. Very dry and sunny and hot down there lately, and plenty more hot weather coming this week for inland parts of the South Island. Now look at Thursday, still showery, still northerlies. So the rainfall accumulation in some areas this week could be more than a month's worth for this time of the year. In fact, it could be double. We could be seeing over 150 millimetres in some areas, getting up to 200 in some pockets around Northland and Auckland and Coromandel. We'll have to wait until it's on the rain radar itself, then you can track it a lot better. But that is the setup through till Thursday. But here's some good news. End of the week. The North Island's mostly dry, maybe a few lingering showers, still wet on the west coast and dry elsewhere. And as we go into the long weekend for Waitangi Weekend, mostly dry. That high's still around, but it's weakened quite a bit. So it's sort of shrinking down. But because this system's moved away, the low pressure system's gone, it finally fell apart, the high finally has a chance to sort of stretch back over the North Island. So hopefully we will see some settled weather there. Not so settled over here in Tasmania. If you're heading over to Hobart for the long weekend, it might be a little bit unsettled. Anyway, that is all from me. Now, before I go, I would like to say a really big thank you to the MetService team, especially the severe weather team. They had a lot of work over the weekend. They've got a lot more work to go through this week, and they've been fantastic at what they've been doing. To the Auckland Council, to the workers who are out there, a big thank you to you out on the streets, cleaning things up, looking after the call centres and all the people calling through, to all the centres out there that are bringing in food and blankets and things. I've seen so much kindness across Auckland. Auckland gets a lot of flack. And I have to say, over the last few days, there has been a lot of community outreach and some really good leadership at various levels across the city. So a big thank you to a lot of people there, and also to Vector, the power lines company, who have been keeping the power running despite the huge amounts of rain and all sorts of wind and flooding issues. A number of power outages around Friday and Saturday, but they've done a great job getting a lot of people back on track. So just want to say thank you to a lot of people, and finally thank you to the Aucklanders who have been so generous and kind to their neighbours and helping out. I've seen a lot of that on social media. It is absolutely fantastic to see, and just hope it continues on a little bit longer. We've still got the severe weather coming through. Stay up to date with the MetService warnings and watches. You can find them on our website. Track the rain radar. You can get that on our website too, or simply go to the MetService website. That is all from me for today. We'll see you again tomorrow, Tuesday, with our next update.